The round 2C assignment for those of you unfortunate enough to find it necessary to complete the assignment. Here we go, question number 1. What is the total production needed, all teams, next round to fill the projected demand in the traditional segment? Take into consideration inventory on hand and a 1% production adjustment. And let me add, that should be just for those teams that are currently, let's take into consideration just those teams, the inventory for those products that are currently listed as traditional. And what do I mean by that? I think when we look at the perceptual map, we see that there are some products, especially by Team Erie, that are moving into the traditional segment, but maybe aren't as yet listed there. Let me get down to that. There it is. Like Egg and Edge, and they may or may not be up here listed as in the traditional segment. Egg is, but Edge is not. So Egg we will count, and Edge we would not. Eat we would count. So anything that's listed here as being a traditional product, that's the inventory that we would count. The other part of that, of course, the projected demand just comes right from that that particular segment analysis, or segment, what's that called? I'm sorry. The segment traditional segment analysis. I did have it right. Okay. But take into consideration and the 1% production adjustments. So we had one from last round where I said that was a bonus. You may want to go back and review if you haven't, or listen to or watch that video that I did on that, because it told you how to make that adjustment. That we get from our production decisions that you guys make. There's an adjustment that shows up on there. Okay. 2 is provide at least 3 methods a team might employ to increase its leverage ratio. Now, if you remember last round, we kind of had a question about the leverage ratio. And in that case, we were reducing the leverage ratio. Okay, so what if we wanted to increase? Why would we increase? Maybe kind of a silly question, except it's not. Believe it or not, there are a lot of companies that want to maintain a certain amount of leverage. Using leverage, I've said often, debt's cheaper than equity, right? So using debt or leverage can be a great way to enhance return to shareholders in some businesses when things are going okay. Okay, it can be the death of you if you have too much leverage, or even if you have what you thought was reasonable leverage and business goes to hell in a handbasket. Okay, it can be a little more difficult then. So, 3 methods. Now, let's go look at the balance sheet. Let's cruise up. Sorry, I'm going the wrong direction there, but we'll get back up here. So we look at the balance sheet, right? One of those might be, like I said, just the opposite of what we were talking about. But the other thing to do, are there ways, this is what I want you to think about. This can be a tough question, but are there ways to decrease your equity? Remember what the equation is, that our leverage ratio, I think we have it up here. It's not up there, shoot. But our leverage ratio, wherever it shows up, is our assets divided by our equity, right? Okay, so we could increase our ratio if we decreased our equity. Okay, so in addition to the opposite of kind of what I had on the last week's assignment, in addition to that, can you think of ways that you could reduce your equity? There are 2 in particular that you could do. Okay, think about that. Think about that maybe in terms of, looking at the cash flow, looking at those types of statements and the balance sheet, and see if there's ways that you could reduce your equity. Difficult question. Okay, you might need to do a little research on it. 3, assume Chester paid a $5 dividend per share. Okay, last round or the third round. I'm sorry, that should be the second round. I'm screwed up here. Oh, now I gotta figure out how to do that. Let's see. There. Oh, and then I still have it wrong. Second round. There we go. That was goofy. Man, I tell you what. Now it's really screwing up on me. There we go. Okay. What impact would that have had on, if applicable, show the actual numbers? Okay, so let's take a look and let's think about what happens when we pay a dividend, right? Okay, where do dividends get paid from? Dividends actually get paid from retained earnings, or I don't want to say exactly because it would be a giveaway for one of the prior questions. So, but dividends get paid out of cash, maybe. There's a lot of companies that borrow money to pay dividends. I know that sounds kind of crazy, but in the real world, there are companies that actually borrow money to pay dividends instead of paying it out of cash. Right now, actually, the big tax reform debate has quite a bit to do with that. But the dividend gets paid, so what's the effect of that? Well, let's look at our balance sheet again. So if we pay a dividend, we reduce cash. Do we do anything else on the balance sheet? Well, obviously, if we reduce cash, it reduces our current assets. It reduces our fixed assets. Okay, and so thus it has to reduce our equity with nothing in return. Okay, we get nothing in return because we're paying that out to shareholders. It's gone. It's cash that's leaving. It's gone. Okay, and so if that's the case, if it reduces our equity and ROE, just think about that. ROE is return on equity, or net income divided by equity. So what's that going to do to ROE but show the numbers? In other words, you got to go back and look at how many shares Chester had outstanding. You got to multiply that by $5. That's going to determine how much they paid out, or would have paid out. This is a hypothetical thing. Would have paid out. What would that have done to their equity, and on and on? How about the earnings per share? Would it have had a meaningful impact on that? I'm going to let you guys think that one through. Okay. Fourth, on the bond market summary, there's a column titled S&P. In that column, each company is given a rating like AA or CCC or whatever the case may be. I used ratings that aren't actually there, but it's what they would be. And let's go to that bond market. Went the wrong direction, sorry. I think after all these years, I know exactly the direction that things are. But here's the S&P column that I'm talking about. So we got a ratings of B and a B, double B, triple D, triple D, triple B. Okay, so those are bond market ratings. What do those mean? Okay, this may require a little bit of outside research. Okay, and this is a real company or a real term. You could Google or Bing that and say S&P bond market ratings and see what you find. Okay, should be some interesting information on that. And then I want you to know, I guess I want to know in the real world. So if a company had a B rating, is that good or bad? Is triple D good or bad? If you happen to be Erie or Digby. And how good or bad, right? How about triple B? Okay, we don't have any A's or we do have one triple B. We don't have any C's in there, but how good or bad are those ratings that we have for our particular companies on here? That's kind of what I want to know to finish answering that question. So there you have it, our assignment for round 2C.